Hi, this is Joe Feeks, editor of Poultry Health Today, and with me is Don Waldrip. He is a senior technical services veterinarian at Zoetis. Always great to see you, Don.
Yeah, man. Good to see you too.
We're going to talk about mortality today. Fortunately, it's about chick mortality.
Yes.
But it's not good news because, it used to be that the standard was 1% or less. Maybe even some companies were down at 0.6, 0.7. But now you're seeing it up around 1.5%. What's driving that?
Well, I think what's driving that is the movement to take antibiotics out of the hatchery as well as out of the breeding stock, which generally leads to higher numbers, and that's what we're seeing in the agristats. In the agristats, we're seeing, instead of around 1%, circa 1%, we're seeing 1.5%. So I think the bacteriological load has gone up.
And is this because most poultry companies have taken the antibiotic out of the hatchery?
Yes, most because of the no antibiotics ever movement in the industry in the last 5 years. If you look at the companies that have taken that out, we're probably approaching 75% with no antibiotic in the hatchery. So that inherently leads to more exposure to bacteria, which leads to more infection, which leads to more mortality.
And of course, we're not using antibiotics in the broiler breeders as much as we used to as well.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So it's a two-edged sword, right? You've got that which lets more bacteria come into the chick inherently. So as you put that in the hatchery, you multiply that bacteria, and so the exposure levels go up as long as we can't damp that down with antibiotics.
So one quick and easy solution might be to put that antibiotic back into the hatchery, but that's clearly not going to happen. What does the industry need to do? Because that 1.5%'s got to be really costly, and it also becomes a welfare issue too.
Yeah,
what do we
right.
need to do to get that back down under 1%?
Well, I mean, we know a lot of things we can do to take those bacteriological numbers down, right? Like floor eggs, for example, or fecal stained eggs. Instead of including those in the hatch, we take those out. So it's things like that. It's things like litter conditions, right? We might pay more attention to litter conditions, which push down again the exposure to bacteria. So we're trying to take those loads down that might come into the hatchery, where they get multiplied again in the hatchery. So, because the bacteria, like the hatchery, is warm, it's moist, it's got nutrients in it, and so what we need to do is, we know several things we can do: cleaner eggs, cleaner litter, dust control, rodent control in the laying houses, those kinds of things. That means we got to go back before and do the things that we might do, the interventions that we might not have done before. We need to do that.
Are there one or two areas in the hatchery that you feel that poultry companies are kind of falling down on in terms of biosecurity or trying to minimize the bacterial load?
Most of the area where the eggs are incubated, right, incubated before they're hatched, those areas are, like I said, they're nice and warm and moist, and they got nutrients in there. Eggs, eggshells, all that kind of stuff. So those areas are the multiplier areas. So we try to put more pressure in those areas, and you see that. You see hatcheries rotating disinfectants, for example, which they may wear out. So we'll rotate those more often. We do a lot of air monitoring in those areas so that we can establish that the numbers are going down, not going up.
Now, we've talked about mortality. Let's also talk about the chicks that do survive, the other 98.5%, if you will. Are we seeing any declines in chick quality to go along with this increase in mortality?
You mean past the 7-day?
Yeah.
Yeah. It puts more pressure in that system. It's really a function of bird may survive, but it may survive with higher loads of bacteria in itself. So what happens is, when they get exposed to various things out in the field, in the grow out area, then those numbers tend to rise. So that's another challenge for us is past the 7-day, what do we do past there? Everything we can do up to the time the chick is placed to take those numbers of bacteria down or fungi can help you on the other end. So it's a paradigm change for the industry to have to do things that we didn't have to do before.
We've been talking to Dr. Don Waldrip. He is a Technical Services Veterinarian at Zoetis. Thanks again for coming by.
Yes, sir.